Welcome back to Revenge Plus, where revenge isn't just sweet, it's unforgettable. Let's dive into today's unforgettable story. I can't love a broken woman. That's the last thing he said before walking out. No warning, no second thoughts, just a suitcase in his hand, eyes cold as stone, and the door slamming behind him like a final sentence. I still remember the sound, not the kind of slam you hear in a fight. This one was quiet, decisive. The kind of slam that says, "I'm done with this." And I was lying there, in bed, barely able to lift my head from the pillow. My skin pale, lips dry, my body trembling from the third round of chemo, tubes in my arm, nausea crawling under my ribs, my whole world falling apart. And him, my husband, deciding I was too much, too weak, too broken. I had stage 3 cancer. We had been married for 7 years. He left me like I had a cold. You think you know someone. You think love is supposed to hold you up when you're falling. But it turns out some people only love you when you're convenient, when you're pretty, when you're laughing, when you're whole. And when you're not, they vanish, like smoke. I found the note 2 hours later, taped to the refrigerator. "I'm sorry, but I can't do this. I need someone who can live life with me, not just survive it." That was it, no signature. Just that single line of betrayal burned into my brain forever. I wanted to scream, but my throat was too dry. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. I wanted to die, but I was already halfway there. Jard, he wasn't always this man, or maybe he was and I just didn't see it. In the beginning, he was charming, gentle. He called me his light. He would cook me dinner, bring me flowers, kiss my forehead every night before we slept. I believed in him the way people believe in fairy tales, naively, completely. And when the doctors said the words tumor and treatment, he held my hand, for 1 day, maybe 2. Then he started staying out later, avoiding eye contact, sleeping on the couch. By the end of the month, he had moved his clothes into a gym bag. But I kept telling myself he's just scared. He loves me. He'll stay. I was wrong. And as I lay there, the silence in the room louder than any scream, something inside me began to shift. I wasn't angry yet, not really, just broken, hollow. I stared at the ceiling and wondered what I had done to deserve this, if it was the sickness or if I had always been disposable and never noticed. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't eat, I just existed. I breathed, I blinked, I waited for morning. And when the sun came up, I didn't feel light. I felt rage, not loud, screaming rage, the quiet, sharp kind. The kind that burns under your skin and refuses to die. I looked at myself in the mirror, no eyebrows, sunken cheeks, a stranger's eyes staring back, and I said one thing: he left me to die, but I'm going to live. And he's going to regret it, every single day. This wasn't a vow of revenge, not yet. It was a promise, to survive, to stand again, to rise not just despite the pain but because of it. What would you do if the person who vowed to love you turned their back the moment you became inconvenient? Would you let it crush you? Would you curl into the shadows and let yourself vanish? Or would you rise up, piece by jagged piece, and make them watch you become something stronger? He thought he was walking away from weakness, but he was running from the storm I was about to become. They say you never truly know someone until they show you who they are when things fall apart. Jard didn't just leave me, he exposed himself, piece by rotten piece. After he walked out, I began to remember things, tiny details, moments I had brushed off, patterns I should have seen. Like the time he rolled his eyes when I gained weight after a stressful month at work. Or when he ignored me for days because I cried at my mother's funeral too dramatically. Or that time I had the flu, and he told me to stop whining while he left for a weekend ski trip with his friends. He said he needed space to breathe. I used to think those were just bad moments. Now I see them for what they were: glimpses, warnings, red flags wrapped in apologies. But the cancer, that was his exit ticket. And not just because he was scared. No, Jard didn't leave because he couldn't handle my illness. He left because my pain made him feel small, powerless, less adored. He was the kind of man who needed a constant spotlight, who thrived when he was being praised, admired, worshipped even. And when the attention shifted from him to me, from his business deals and gym routines to my hospital visits and test results, he cracked. He once told me, "I didn't marry you to become your nurse." He said it with a laugh, like a joke. But it wasn't a joke, was it? I started remembering the way he used to preen in front of mirrors, always adjusting his tie, flexing when he thought no one was looking. The way he talked to waitresses, fake smiles that turned cold if they didn't laugh at his jokes. The way he always forgot to mention he was married when he was out with clients. One night before I got sick, I caught him texting someone named Vanessa Pilates. The message read, "You looked amazing in those leggings today," made it hard to concentrate. He claimed it was a joke, said it meant nothing. Promised me he'd block her. I believed him, like a fool. Turns out Vanessa wasn't the only one. After he left, a mutual friend told me he had a pattern. He'd always talked about women like toys, collectible, replaceable. If one lost her shine, he'd simply move on to another. I was the pretty one with the kind smile. That was how he introduced me when we first met his friends. Not my partner, not the love of my life. Just a shiny accessory he could brag about. And once I was sick, once the shine faded, I became a burden. He didn't even try to pretend. Didn't attend a single appointment. Didn't ask the doctor any questions. I'd sit in silence in the passenger seat, gripping the folder of lab results, while he played podcasts about finance and muscle-building supplements. He'd drop me off at the hospital like I was an errand, groceries, dry cleaning, chemo. I started to wonder if he ever really loved me, or just the idea of me. The clean, healthy, smiling version. The one who cooked for him, cheered for him, let him be the center of our universe. Once I became the one who needed care, I became invisible. But the part that broke me wasn't even the leaving. It was what he did after. A week after he left, he posted a photo on social media. Shirtless on a beach in Chelum, drink in hand, arms around a 20-something woman in a bikini. Caption: "New beginnings. Sometimes you have to let go of dead weight to find your wings." Dead weight, he was talking about me. I hadn't even finished my 3rd cycle of treatment, and he was already erasing me from his life like I was a stain on his reputation. Mutual friends stopped texting. Invitations dried up. People looked at me with pity or worse, averted their eyes entirely. No one wanted to be caught between the woman battling cancer and the man who moved on like she never existed. He was charming, you see, handsome, successful. He knew how to play the victim, twist stories in his favor. To the world, I was the one who pushed him away, who gave up on herself. He told people I was too depressed to save, that he tried everything, that I was bitter and clingy and emotionally unstable. But I remember everything. Every moment, every cruel smirk. Every time he turned up the volume on the TV when I was vomiting in the next room. Every time he sighed when I needed help getting up. Every time he looked at me like I had already died. And that's when I realized something. Jard wasn't just a coward. He was a monster. He didn't just abandon me. He wanted to destroy me. He wanted to make sure that if he left, he'd win. But I wasn't going to let him. Do you know that feeling when you stop crying, stop begging, stop hoping, and something darker settles in? Resolve, it's quiet, heavy, unforgiving. I wasn't going to chase him. I wasn't going to fight for someone who made my illness about him. But I was going to make sure he regretted it. Not with screaming, not with violence, but with something far more powerful. I was going to rise stronger, wiser, and untouchable, and I was going to do it right where he could see it. But first, I had to get through the pain, I had to rebuild. And I had to remember exactly who I was before I let him rewrite my story. Because the truth is, I never needed him. He needed me. People think revenge is loud, explosive, screaming matches, public scenes, lawsuits, slashed tires, but they're wrong. The real kind of revenge, the kind that makes someone ache, is quiet, patient, calculated, and mine started long before Jard even left. It's funny how the mind works. How it stores pain in the background, like a program running silently behind all the smiles and dinner parties. Because while I was playing the doting wife, pretending everything was okay, I had already started collecting moments. Keeping receipts, his words, his glares, the passwords he never changed. The financial accounts he thought I knew nothing about. He made a mistake. He underestimated me. Jard always thought I was soft, kind, easy to control. But what he didn't realize is that kindness isn't weakness. And that I wasn't collecting bruises, I was collecting ammunition. The night I first suspected he was cheating was the night everything shifted. It was 6 months before the diagnosis. He came home late, the scent of another woman's perfume clinging to his collar. He said he was at the gym. I said nothing. Just smiled, kissed his cheek, and quietly memorized the digits he tapped into his phone when he thought I wasn't watching. That was the moment the plan began. Not a plan for revenge, not yet, just a plan to protect myself. Because even then, some part of me knew he wasn't going to love me forever. Not really. Not the way I deserved. So I started taking precautions. I saved every email, every message, every suspicious receipt. I opened a private bank account in my maiden name. I copied down the login to our shared investments. I recorded conversations, cold ones, careless ones. I backed up text messages and stored them under a fake contact on my phone. I told myself it was just in case, but deep down I knew. And when the sickness came and Jard began to drift further and further from the man he used to pretend to be, I didn't stop preparing. I started writing a journal. Not a Dear Diary kind of thing. No, a log. Detailed, time-stamped entries. Every cruel word, every time he left me at the hospital alone, every moment he made me feel like a burden. I wrote it all down. I wanted the truth somewhere beyond my fading strength. Because even if I didn't make it, someone would know. Then came the photos, the emails from Vanessa, then another woman, and another. He was sloppy, arrogant. He used the same password for everything. I didn't need to guess, it was our anniversary date twisted into a joke, June forever. Only it turned out he meant June forever, you never. Through that one key, I unlocked a world of secrets. His hidden social media accounts, his private conversations, his bank transfers. Trips he said were for work that were actually romantic getaways. I found flight confirmations, hotel reservations, even a signed gym membership he bought for one of his affairs. It was all there, all time-stamped, all traceable. I printed it, boxed it, labeled it, just in case he forgets who he is. And still I said nothing. Because that's the thing about people like Jard, they get lazy when they think you're weak. And the sicker I got, the more careless he became. He didn't see me anymore, just a shadow in the house, an obligation. A problem he was planning to walk away from, and eventually he did. But what he didn't know is that I was already 10 steps ahead. The day after he left, I took my laptop, logged into the private email I created years before and wrote one message. One sentence, to myself, just 6 words. He doesn't know what's coming. It felt like reclaiming oxygen. I started small, quiet moves. I called an old friend from college, Mel. She worked in PR now, brilliant, ruthless, loyal. I told her everything, sent her the files. The photo. If that revenge hit just right, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more epic comebacks and justice-served stories. Drop a comment below. I'd love to know what you would have done in their place. Shows the audio. I asked her to hold on to it. Why? She asked. I smiled. Because one day I'll be ready to be seen again. I wasn't there yet. My body still felt like a battlefield. My skin thin, my bones fragile. But my mind, it was alive, sharp, alive in a way it hadn't been in months. Every day I added something new to the plan, a name, a location, a password he forgot to change. I made a chart. A literal web on my bedroom wall, red string, pins, notes. The kind of thing you'd expect from someone losing their mind. Only I wasn't losing mine. I was rebuilding it. And in the center of it all, I wrote one word in bold ink. Freedom. Because that's what this was about. Not revenge, not at first, but freedom from him, from the idea of him, from the pain he left behind. But then something shifted. It was a comment. One little comment on his social media post, one of the many where he paraded his new girlfriend around like a trophy. The caption was some cliché quote about leaving behind the things that hold you back. But the comment, it was from one of his friends. And it said, "Glad you finally escaped that mess." She looked like a ghost. That's when it became personal. He wasn't just lying about me, he was rewriting me, dismissing me. Making me out to be some clingy, washed-up sick woman he bravely walked away from. A story he could tell while clinking glasses with people who never asked about the truth. And that's when I decided. It wouldn't be enough to heal. It wouldn't be enough to survive. I had to show him, not with tears, not with confrontation, but with undeniable proof that the woman he thought he broke was never broken at all. I wasn't just going to recover, I was going to rise. And when I did, he'd be forced to look up. Because that's the thing about people like Jard, they always think they're the main character, until they realize they've been written out of the story entirely. So I whispered to the mirror, voice still hoarse from the chemo, "You watch me fade, now you'll watch me burn." And deep down I knew. He wouldn't survive the woman I was about to become. The first time I saw his face after everything, it was on a screen, a LinkedIn video. Jard was giving some speech at a conference about resilience in business. Resilience. The irony was so sharp, I almost laughed myself into a coughing fit. There he was, suited up, perfectly groomed, grinning into the camera like he hadn't abandoned his sick wife like a piece of spoiled meat. He said things like, "When life gets tough, you have to rise up stronger." And people applauded. They called him inspirational. They called him bold. They didn't know that this bold man left a woman with IVs in her arm to sip margaritas with women half her age. That was the moment I knew, it wasn't enough for me to rise, I had to flip the script. I had to steal the spotlight he'd stolen and own it, but not with anger, with strategy. So I did something he would never expect. I smiled. And then I made a plan. It started with an email, just one, sent to the HR director of a firm Jard had been trying to merge with. He was so proud of it, always bragging about sealing the biggest deal of his career. I attached a PDF. No words, no threats, just screenshots of his private messages. One in particular stood out. She's only in this company because she's hot, useless in meetings but great for after-parties. The woman he was talking about, the lead investor's daughter. Let's just say the merger didn't happen. Next came the more subtle touches. I sent anonymous tips to 3 different gossip accounts that focused on corporate drama, just enough breadcrumbs. His name, his company, some rumors about his behavior. One included that photo from Chalum, him grinning while I lay in a hospital bed. The story spread, not virally, just enough to sting. Then I made my move offline. I started attending events. Not huge ones, just small panels, book clubs, charity galas. I showed up looking radiant, not because I was trying to be beautiful, but because I was finally alive again. Hair growing back, skin glowing. Confidence sharp as a knife. At one of those events, I bumped into someone who used to work with Jard. His jaw dropped. "I heard you were gone." I laughed. "No, darling, I was just getting started." It became a game after that. Every time I posted a photo, I tagged someone Jard still followed. Every time I spoke publicly about recovery, I made sure to mention how important it was to leave toxic people behind. I never said his name, I never had to. But people started whispering, connecting dots. He tried to fight it, he posted vague quotes. Real men walk away from drama. But the comments changed, they asked questions, they weren't on his side anymore. The final blow. It came on his birthday. I sent him a package, no return address. Inside, a copy of my new book, The Ones Who Stayed Sick and Still Survived. Page 112 was dog-eared. The quote read, "Some men leave when the storm comes. But some storms are sent to wash those men away." I heard he smashed a glass when he read it. That night I toasted to myself, a glass of red wine, soft music, peace, because the revenge, it wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, it was elegant. And it was only just beginning. I never thought I'd end up in a courtroom with Jard. But there we were. Him, looking smug in a charcoal gray suit, arms crossed like he thought the entire thing was beneath him. Me in a black dress, simple, sharp, calm, my hair pulled back, my eyes steady. You'd think I was attending a funeral. In a way I was, the death of his spotless reputation. See, Jard thought he was untouchable. That walking away from me was his clean break. That because I hadn't shouted or sued or chased him through tabloids, I'd just faded into the shadows like a bitter memory. What he didn't know was that while he played the game of image, I had been collecting truth. And truth is dangerous. It started when I realized how much money had vanished from our joint accounts during the final months of our marriage. I wasn't just sick, I was broke, bills unpaid, medical expenses stacking up. But Jard, he was upgrading his car. Flying first class, spoiling his little side project, Vanessa, with gifts. I found receipts, transactions in my name. Withdrawals from our shared savings that he'd quietly moved into a shadow account. It wasn't just cruel, it was illegal, so I found a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, a woman named Dahlia Stone. Fierce, smart. The kind of person who made men like Jard sweat through their Armani suits. I showed her the documents, the transfers, the messages, the timeline. She looked at me over her glasses and said, "You realize what this is, right? Marital financial fraud. He robbed you while you were dying." And just like that, the case began. I didn't go public, I didn't announce anything. We filed quietly, precisely. We had everything, emails, login records, security footage from bank visits, even a voice recording of Jard telling me, "It's not like you'll need money where you're going." That one broke the jury's face. Jard tried to spin it. He painted me as unstable, emotional, vengeful. He said I was using his success as a punching bag, but facts are louder than charm. And evidence is bulletproof. I watched his lawyer fumble through explanations, caught in his own contradictions. Watched Jard's jaw twitch when we played the voicemail where he bragged about moving money so I wouldn't become dead weight in more ways than one. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry, I just stared straight ahead. The turning point came when the court-ordered financial audit revealed the full extent of what he'd done. Hidden accounts, forged signatures, multiple unauthorized transactions. The numbers didn't lie. And neither did I. The judge was silent for a long time. Then he looked at Jard and said, "You didn't just abandon your wife, you tried to erase her." Silence fell across the room like a blade. I could see it in Jard's eyes, the panic. The realization that for the first time in his life he couldn't charm his way out, couldn't flex, couldn't spin. He had met someone he couldn't control, the truth, they ruled in my favor, restitution. Fines, public apology, full financial recovery, but that wasn't the win. The win was watching him walk out of the courtroom, face pale, lips tight, reporters snapping photos while he ducked his head like a child caught stealing. He used to walk with swagger. That day he shuffled, and I stood at the steps, breathing in the cold air, steady, unbothered, because when someone tries to bury you and you come back with receipts, that's not just survival, that's power. The fall didn't happen all at once, it never does. At first, Jard tried to pretend nothing had changed. He posted a few vague stories about resilience and learning from life's challenges. He even attempted damage control by doing a podcast, his voice polished and composed, talking about toxic relationships and how sometimes you have to cut people loose for your own growth. But the cracks were already showing. The firm he worked for didn't like the attention. Quietly, they restructured. His name disappeared from the leadership page, then from the emails, then from the building entirely. They never issued a statement. Just let him vanish the way he had tried to let me. That was the first blow, his career. He tried to launch something on his own, of course, a startup, a consultancy. I'm not even sure what it was supposed to do. But no one would back him. Investors pulled out, people whispered. There's something about the scent of scandal, it clings to you no matter how hard you scrub. Then came the second blow, his image. Vanessa left him, publicly, brutally. She posted a screenshot of a message he'd sent another woman, begging for distraction from the stress. The caption said, "Turns out cheaters never change, should have listened to the cancer wife." That one went viral. Suddenly, Jard wasn't suave anymore. He was that guy, the one who left his wife during chemo, the one who stole from her, the one who got sued and lost. He became a meme, a joke. I saw his name trending with phrases like garbage human and CEO of scumbags. He tried to fight it, threatened to sue people for defamation, but you can't sue the internet, and you can't silence the truth once it's out. The final blow came quietly, his mind. He moved into a smaller place, sold the car, tried to disappear, but the world didn't forget. Every job interview came with Google. Every woman he tried to date already knew the story. He started spiraling, posting erratic messages online, arguing in comment sections with strangers, blaming cancel culture, blaming me. That's how I knew he was really broken. Not because he lost money or status, but because he lost the one thing he cared about most, control. Jard didn't love people, he loved power. He loved the idea of being wanted, being admired. And now, everywhere he went, he saw reminders that he wasn't. He was no longer the man on stage with the microphone. He was the man in the comments, begging to be believed. And me, I never responded, never engaged, I didn't need to, because he was doing the job for me, destroying himself. One excuse at a time. And I was already gone, already living. I never planned to become anyone's inspiration. All I wanted truly was to survive. To make it through the days without collapsing under the weight of what he did. To breathe without remembering the sound of the door closing. To smile without feeling like I was lying to myself. But something strange happened after the fire died down. After the court ruling, the headlines, the fall of Jard, there was quiet. Real, gentle quiet, not the silence of abandonment, the stillness of peace. And in that space, something began to grow. One morning, I woke up before the alarm. The sky was soft with early light, my breath calm. I walked into the kitchen, made coffee, and realized I wasn't thinking about him at all. Not his face, not his words, not his absence. For the first time in years, I was just here. Alive. I began volunteering at a cancer support group. It started as a way to keep myself grounded, to share without pressure. But the stories I heard, women and men abandoned, ignored, belittled while fighting for their lives, they echoed too deeply. So I told mine, every painful, ugly, powerful part of it. I expected tears, pity, maybe applause. What I got was purpose. One woman hugged me after a session and whispered, "You reminded me that I'm not trash because someone threw me away." That sentence stayed with me. I began speaking at hospitals, then recovery centers, then conferences. I stopped hiding my scars, literally and figuratively. I wore them like armor, not shame. People listened. Not because I was extraordinary, but because I had walked through hell and didn't let it hollow me out. I wasn't the woman Jard left anymore. I was the woman who rose after him. I started a foundation, the Phoenix Table. A place for women recovering not just from illness, but from the emotional violence that so often comes with it. We offered therapy, legal support, job training, but most of all, we offered community. A place where no one had to fight alone again. I keep a small box in my office. Inside it is the letter he left me. Crumpled, yellowing, torn at the edges. I kept it not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of the turning point. That moment lying in a hospital bed, betrayed and forgotten. That was the death of who I used to be, and the birth of someone I never saw coming. People ask me sometimes, if you could say one thing to him now, what would it be? I never answer, because I don't need to say anything, he already hears it. Every time he scrolls past my name. Every time someone shares my story. Every time his new dates Google his past. Every time he sees my face and knows. I survived without him, I became more without him, and that's the loudest message of all. I wear a necklace now, just a simple gold charm, a phoenix, wings outstretched. It's not about revenge anymore, it's about remembrance. Of who I was, of who I became, of what happens when a woman decides that rock bottom is just a starting line. So if you're watching this, if someone has left you broken, bleeding, stripped of your worth, if you've been told you're too much, too sick, too damaged, let me tell you the truth they were too afraid to admit. You are not hard to love. They were just too small to hold someone like you. Let them go, and then rise. Life doesn't always break you to end you, sometimes it breaks you to rebuild you. We don't choose the betrayals, the sickness, or the people who walk away when we need them most. But we do choose what we become afterward. Pain can make you bitter or it can make you brave. Losing everything doesn't mean you've lost yourself. Sometimes, it's in the silence after the chaos that we hear who we really are. And if you listen closely, you'll find something powerful. Resilience, purpose, and a fire that no one, not even the ones who left, can ever extinguish.